Welcome back to Frank Podcasts, everybody. Hope you all enjoyed your spring break. I know we sure did.
I went to China
What'd you do there?
surfing.
Surfing in China.
Mhm.
They're historically known for that.
They are.
On this season of the show, Thomas and I will be taking a deep dive into the Resident Evil franchise's history in both film and television. Some of you have asked, why are we covering Resident Evil? Well, for starters, it shares some similarities with our subject from last season, the DCEU. It's an adaptation of a popular existing intellectual property from a medium outside of film. It becomes a long-running Hollywood franchise in its own right with lots of sequels, especially those Paul W.S. Anderson films. And like the DCEU, it was somehow a commercial success despite its many failures in other metrics. When I wrote the introduction to the DCPU, I remarked that the DCEU was the ninth highest grossing film franchise of all time, and that's still true at the time of recording on this podcast. The Resident Evil film franchise is equally as staggering because as we record this episode, it is the third highest grossing horror franchise of all time. Yes, you heard me. Third. Resident Evil has made more money than Saw, Scream, Final Destination, The Exorcist, Halloween, A Quiet Place, Paranormal Activity, It, Jaws, The Purge, Friday the 13th, and Nightmare on Elm Street, and so many others. The only franchises to surpass it are The Conjuring and Alien. But at one point in history, Resident Evil made more money than even those, and held the record of being the highest grossing horror franchise ever.
Pretty crazy.
It is crazy, especially when you look at the fact that there's only 7 films, and some of those other horror franchises have at least a dozen by this point.
I think it's actually kind of surprising me more that the only ones above it are The Conjuring and Alien. I mean, Alien makes sense, but The Conjuring?
I think it's because they count the Conjuring spin-offs like The Nun and stuff like that, Annabelle. But yeah, I think before like Prometheus, when it was just the first 4 Alien movies, Resident Evil was above it. I think when The Conjuring, well, I guess didn't exist. I don't know when The Conjuring necessarily climbed up the ranks, but you got the 4 main movies and you've got Annabelle and yeah, there's a lot of...
Even then, though, you're right, because like Friday the 13th and Halloween, those have like 12 movies.
Yeah, it's just absolutely crazy. And also, this is a franchise that hasn't had a new movie in like 5 years. And when you look at the gaps between those films, there's like 3 to 4 years between each of them. So they weren't pumping out new movies as often as other horror franchises were either.
And while the DCEU acted as our case study of Hollywood's obsession with comic book films, Resident Evil acts as the subject of a similar observation: video game movies. By the late 90s, Hollywood was finally looking to video games as another vein of intellectual property for them to mine. By the time the first live-action Resident Evil film had released, there had already been a movie about the Super Mario Bros., Double Dragon, Street Fighter, 2 Mortal Kombats, Wing Commander, and Tomb Raider. And while not all of these were successful, Street Fighter made nearly 3 times its budget, Mortal Kombat made over 6 times its budget, with the second one making 1.5 times its budget, and Tomb Raider made over double, with a net profit of over $150 million. So why would video game films be profitable? Well, these have pre-existing fans, and a large number of which will show up no matter what the quality of the film is like. Filmmakers could also steal existing characters and stories from the source material, just like they do for comic book films and other adaptations of works from different mediums, like books. Obviously, for games in the past like Super Mario Bros., this doesn't really apply, but more narrative-driven and cinematic games like Metal Gear Solid and the original Resident Evil were hitting the scene around this time. And as of now, Resident Evil has more live-action films than any other game series.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy that a franchise that's, the last movie was 5 years ago, and the one before that was another 5 years ago, is still holding the record for most adaptations.
Hollywood is making more video game movies now than ever. Films like Sonic the Hedgehog, Minecraft, Until Dawn, Five Nights at Freddy's, Uncharted, Borderlands, Monster Hunter, Hitman, Need for Speed, Mortal Kombat again, Tomb Raider again, Super Mario Bros. Again. In these past 10 years, from 2016 to now, there's more than double the amount of video game films compared to the first decade in which Hollywood was making them, which was 1993 to 2003. And in our current theatrical landscape, capes are out and controllers are in. The Illumination Super Mario Bros. Movie grossed more than every film from the Marvel Cinematic Universe in the past half-decade. And if you ignore Spider-Man, it made more money than any superhero flick since Avengers Endgame.
Yeah.
Borderlands is so bad.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of those that are bad. But, they mostly make money. People love their video game movies. They love their slop. What can I say?
Controller slop.
Controller slop instead of cape shit. People don't give a shit about superheroes anymore. I mean, maybe we're going to be wrong about that when Doomsday comes out this December, but...
At the same time, that's like Avengers Endgame and Avengers Doomsday are like big tentpole like movies. They're not like a normal MCU movie. You know what I mean? It's like an event film.
I suppose that's true. I think that some of the ones in the past 5 years probably underperformed, to put it politely,
No.
compared to their expectations. Looking at the math, it's not math, it's just counting. I was counting the number of movies in that first decade, from the Super Mario Brothers movie in 93 all the way through 2003. And it's like 10 movies, I think. About 10 movies, maybe 11, but I think it was 10. And going backwards from this year to 2016, I counted easily over 20. So it's way more saturated now. And that's not even counting all the video game TV shows and the animated stuff, too, because I'm only looking at the live action here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like they have the whole Castlevania series on Netflix.
Yeah, they got Castlevania, Devil May Cry. They've got that Twisted Metal thing on Peacock.
Oh, yeah.
They're making a God of War show. They did The Last of Us on HBO. Resident Evil had a series on Netflix.
Which we will get to eventually. They're making like a bunch of random shit.
Who is?
Just everyone. A bunch of random video game movies.
Oh, yeah. Everybody was grabbing whatever comic books they could find like 20 years ago or 15 years ago. You know, grabbing up shit like The Boys or Invincible or the fucking Green Hornet.
I forgot about that.
It's the same situation where these companies are just kind of scrambling to grab whatever stuff they can because they look at things like Sonic the Hedgehog or the Super Mario Brothers movie, and that made a lot of money. And relatively low effort, I would argue, on the creative side of things. It's not as if these are like fantastic stories with interesting characters. Like, the Mario movie's about as basic as you can get. And that Mario film, in conjunction with this year's sequel, the Super Mario Galaxy movie, have made Mario the highest grossing video game film franchise. But before those two films, and before Detective Pikachu, this was yet another record held by Resident Evil. Despite the last successful film coming out 10 years ago, it was the highest grossing video game film franchise of all time. Detective Pikachu is what made Pokemon number one. And then after the Mario Galaxy movie, Mario just jumped Pokemon. So now Resident Evil's number 3 in that category as well. It's the third highest grossing video game franchise, third highest grossing horror franchise. And again, for a series that hasn't made a new movie in half a decade, it's pretty impressive that it was still holding those records for so long, and it still remains as high as it does.
I'd say it's also still impressive because those other two are like PG movies, and they're all rated R.
That's a good point. I didn't even consider that aspect of it, but you're right. These are like zombie movies with gore and stuff like that. So the point is, this Hollywood trend is still relevant today, so it's worth talking about today. And in fact, video games as a medium have completely eclipsed film and television as a form of money-making, which is a stark contrast to the days in which the original Resident Evil movie was produced. Seriously, the New York Times reported that the movie industry made about $33 billion last year in 2025, and the video game industry, $197 billion, which is about 6 times as much as the entire movie industry. Now, I'm sure there's a lot of factors to that. Mobile sales, digital downloads, and disc purchases, and I don't know. I mean, I guess you have digital purchases for movies now too, and streaming services, but the point is, 20 years ago, movies were the dominant cultural force, and they're kind of an afterthought now. They're making a comeback. Like, the movie industry has been recovering steadily since COVID, but it's still not where it was, and even at pre-COVID times, it was still making less than games.
Also, the recent push to make games more cinematic.
And it's not just the trend that's relevant today either, because Resident Evil is arguably at its most popular right now in this period of history. When you look at its influence on pop culture and the sales figures from its revival era of games in this past decade, it's hard to deny that this is a juggernaut. Resident Evil 9 just came out this year, and I think it's already like the 5th best-selling game in the series ever, with like over 5 million units in just less than 2 months.
I think it's the best-selling game this year, too.
That's insane. It just goes to show, like, Resident Evil is still relevant in the gaming space, which we just established is more relevant than film. If Resident Evil is at the top of the gaming charts, it's kind of at the top of everything.
Do you think it'll hold off GTA 6?
Fuck no. But it'll be nice while it lasts, huh? It's also a game franchise that Hollywood has never stopped trying to use in some form or another. I mean, we have the original run of movies that we're going to talk about on this show, but there was also a reboot in 2021, another reboot in the form of the Netflix show just a year later in 2022, and there's another film reboot coming out this year from writer-director Zach Cregger, known for Barbarian and this year's Oscar award-winning Weapons. Well, came out last year, won the Oscar this year. So, Resident Evil is still relevant in Hollywood. The trend's relevant, the brand is relevant, they're still trying to do things with it in this medium. So, hopefully that's a thorough enough explanation for you. Now we can finally get into things, but if you've read the title of today's episode, you might have realized we're not actually talking about the first live-action film today. That'll be next week. Rather, we're discussing something else that acts as a progenitor to all of it. Capcom's first Resident Evil film, Biohazard 4D-Executor.
The concept for Biohazard 4D-Executor was conceived by anime director Yasuhiro Imagawa, who brought the idea to Capcom. And Imagawa is best known for his work as series director of such 90s anime series as Giant Robo, Mobile Fighter G Gundam... Not Gundam. Gundam?
It's
okay.
Gundam.
Mobile Fighter G Gundam, and Berserk. I like Gundam better. Project would be announced in October 1999 under the title Biohazard 4D Horror. Imagawa worked on the screenplay and general pre-production and brought on filmmaker Shinji Higuchi to be the director of photography. Higuchi has an impressive resume, most notably his work on Gamera, Guardian of the Universe, Neon Genesis Evangelion, directing Shin Ultraman, and co-directing Shin Godzilla. The final screenplay was written by Daisuke Okamoto, known for writing the 1999 series Blue Gender. Blue Gender.
I know, it's really woke.
Yeah. And it was from 1999. Ahead of its time.
Very ahead of its time.
Keiji Inafune, famous Capcom producer and game designer, known for his work on Mega Man, among other franchises, served as producer on the film, and he would describe it as a gaiden, meaning side story. I didn't know that. Koichi Ohata would direct, brought on for his work on CG animated projects like MD Geist, Cybernetics the Guardian, and Genocyber.
I haven't seen any of these. It could all be made up for all I know. I've seen Shin Ultraman and Shin Godzilla and Evangelion, but
I know those ones are real.
Yeah, Berserk's real. I'm sure Gundam is real too.
You mean Gunda?
Yeah, Gunda. That sounds like something a Star Wars prequel alien would say.
Gunda. George Lucas, hire me.
I've got some bad news for you.
Knowing he has no power.
Okay, so you're going to be ironing my shirts and laying out my jeans for me?
Gonna clean my toilets.
Oh.
I have this toothbrush for you.
Well, I think that George probably has some pretty clean toilets because he's got clean shits. Like he eats like lots of salad and spinach and stuff. I think it would come out pretty good. Wouldn't be too messy, right?
I don't know. I hope. For my sake.
Yeah, we should move on. I don't want to think about this anymore.
Welcome to the George Lucas Shit Podcast.
A sentence that's never been uttered by a human being before, ever. In this 2001 article from ASCII.jp, several of these gentlemen would give details about the project. Inafune would say, quote, "When you watch the video, once the gimmick chair moves, you start to feel anxious about when it will move again. This has a good effect. It's interesting in a different way than Disneyland. The video is milder than what we initially intended to create. It's well put together and interesting. I think even Resident Evil fans will enjoy it as a spin-off." What does that mean? I think even fans will enjoy it. Is he just like saying fans suck? That they'll just do nothing but bitch about it normally? That's pretty funny. We also forgot to mention, this is a theme park ride. It is a roughly 20-minute short film that's in like a ride simulation with a chair that moves and sprays stuff at you. And I think at one point they mentioned like a tentacle. Oh, dude, I hope not. We'll talk about piss next week.
The Rock?
No. Ohata said, quote, "The original video was 17 minutes and 30 seconds long, but using the gimmick chair increased the horror effect and made the scary scenes feel even scarier, so we cut some parts. We could show the full version at a horror event or something starting at midnight for people with strong hearts." Laughs.
Ha ha ha.
President and CEO of Digital Amuse, the company responsible for designing the physical ride, Kenji Yoshida said, quote, "I believe this is the first 3D projection system using DVDs. The video was created with the functionality of the gimmick chair in mind. Initially, there was also a water spraying function, but it was omitted because it could cause problems." Okay, so it doesn't spray stuff at you, unfortunately.
I feel like watching this, I was wondering how it would work as a ride, because at some parts you could tell like where it would be moving around a lot, and then other times I was like, I don't know how this would work.
Yeah, I had the same thought, and maybe we're getting a little ahead of ourselves, but whatever, who cares? I was keeping that in the back of my mind the whole time I was watching, and like the way the camera moves, it's not a POV style ride.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is shot with like actual cinematography, where camera changes happen and there's shot variety. It's not as if we're following one soldier or like one infected monster for the whole thing. So it does seem like the two parts wouldn't really gel together to me. I mean, I don't know. I guess stuff like Shrek 4D exists, or did exist, rest in peace. And it's like that will spray shit at you and like, I don't know.
But that one might be actual shit. Is it just, maybe it's more of not, maybe like a ride is not the right word. Is it just more of like one of those things where you sit down in the seats and it shakes a lot?
Maybe it's like one of those things for kids at the mall where you put in a quarter and they can pretend they're on a roller coaster. But even that is a POV style ride. Like it's one consistent camera, so it's weird. It feels like maybe the idea for the short film was made first, and then the integration with the ride vehicle was made second. That's how it feels to me, just because the movie doesn't seem tailored to the ride vehicle. Mm-hmm. I couldn't even find pictures of the ride vehicle, which we'll talk about later. But that's just my theory.
ASCII would give more details on the ride itself, too, saying, "The film is projected onto a 220-inch screen. The gimmick chair features a drop function using a cylinder attached to the seat, an air jet function that shoots air towards the neck, and an air tube function that wraps around the feet, allowing for tactile effects on various parts of the audience's body in sync with the video." Okay, so I guess that kind of explains it a little bit. It does sound like it's more of just a chair that you sit in. The admission fee for Biohazard 4D-Executer at Toshi Main is 800 yen. However, if you purchase a set ticket that includes admission to Toshi Main, normally 1,000 yen for adults and 500 yen for children, and admission to Biohazard 4D-Executer, you can receive a discount, bringing the price down to 1,200 yen for adults and 900 yen for children. Please
we don't need to... Sorry. I mostly put that in there so we could get an idea of the price of this thing.
Okay, would you like to explain how much a yen is compared to a dollar?
I think a yen is... I mean, obviously, this was like in the year 2000. I didn't do the conversion, but I think it's roughly like 100 to 1. So 100 yen is like a dollar. I'm sure that's not true, especially not right now because the yen is so weak in these past few years.
It's so I looked it up. It's 1 yen now is $0.0063.
Okay, so what would 900 be?
$5.
Okay, so $5 for kids.
$5.59.
And then 1,200 yen for adults, so not much more.
$7.45.
Right, okay, so that's in today's prices, I'm sure, but the idea is you're just paying a few bucks to ride this thing.
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's like 20 minutes, some fun gimmicky stuff happens. Okay, sure. I do also think that it was worth putting this in here because maybe we want to figure out how many rides it'll take for this thing to pay for itself. Because there's no box office information, unlike everything we talked about in our last series, right? Because this is a theme park attraction. And even calling it that might be a little bit generous since it's more of like a pop-up thing, I guess. Yeah, so it was open at Space World in Kitakyushu City, and it was supposed to open more locations in Osaka, Chubu, Tohoku, Hokkaido, and other areas by the summer, according to the article. It was supposedly moved to the theme park or amusement park Mosaic Garden after its run at Space World, but it's really hard to find any concrete information about the ride's existence at all. Now, as an American who speaks English, all these websites where we found these quotes and stuff were in Japanese and we had to use Google Translate. Yeah, it's hard to find any information about whether this ride still exists at all, and when exactly it moved over to Mosaic Garden and when Mosaic Garden may have gotten rid of it. I looked at hundreds of photos of Mosaic Garden through sites like TripAdvisor. There's no signs of the ride in any of those pictures and any of the angles of the park that I could find. It's difficult to find any posters, any pictures of the queue or signage. There's a couple floating around, but not very much, and there's not a single picture I can find of the ride vehicle itself. So if anybody has photos or footage of the ride or the queue, or they know anything about its current whereabouts, or have just been on the ride and want to share it with us, please do.
It's going to be people commenting in the comments in Japanese. We're like, we don't know what you're saying.
Well, I mean, that's that's better than nothing.
I can auto-translate, it's fine.
Yeah, we can work with that. It's just such an elusive thing.
It's weird that there's not pictures of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's in the year 2000, so it's like there's no smartphones, barely any cell phones, and I don't know if those cell phones had cameras, and then people aren't really bringing their cameras to amusement parks and stuff like that, not on the rides, because cameras would be more expensive back then, but you would think somebody would have taken a ride video of it, because we have like old videos of people going to like Disney World or Universal Studios and doing that from the year 2000 or earlier. But with this ride, I don't know, maybe they were super strict about it, or, the culture is just different over there. I have no idea, but the point is there's no real, like, historical footage of this thing, which is weird because we have the footage of the entire ride itself, which is exactly how Thomas and I watched it. We watched it on YouTube, where people have uploaded the raw video file of the ride, and some people have taken the liberty of upscaling it because it's incredibly low quality.
Yeah, I watched the upscaled one.
Yeah, me too. And you know what? That's fine. Like, it still was kind of blurry at times, but it's definitely more legible, for sure. And it had English subtitles too, which is a miracle. Like, whoever these people are that found the ride file and put it on YouTube, they are heroes. Because I don't think it's something that Capcom sold on a DVD. I could be wrong about that. I have no idea how they got their hands on it.
On to the state of movies in Resident Evil at the time of release. So, for the series, we'll be looking at releases within a month of the current episode topic. Obviously, this is like a short film, but I guess it's just good to know what came out around then in relation.
Yeah, well, I figured that we're going to be talking about the other theatrical films and doing this segment, so I thought we'd introduce the segment, even though this isn't a theatrical film.
Mm-hmm. So other movies that came out around this time included Meet the Parents, Book of Shadows, Blair Witch 2. Never heard of that, but okay. Charlie's Angels, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, Rugrats in Paris, and Unbreakable.
I believe Blair Witch 2 is supposed to be like a meta sequel where they're like examining the documentary that the first film is like treated as. I heard it sucks. I heard it's terrible. I haven't seen it. I haven't even seen the first one, to be quite honest.
Me neither.
I've seen all the clips that I need to see to piece it together.
Yeah, basically.
I don't think it's a film that would hold up very well, but I could be wrong. I haven't seen it.
As for the Resident Evil franchise, 2000 marked with the release of Resident Evil Code Veronica, a side entry that follows Chris and Claire Redfield's activities 3 months after the destruction of Raccoon City. This was the first entry in the series to debut on something other than the PlayStation. In this case, it debuted on the Sega Dreamcast. It is also the first mainline entry in the series to abandon the pre-rendered backgrounds the franchise had become known for, in exchange for real-time rendered 3D environments and a more dynamic fixed camera. Weird that it came out on the Dreamcast. I didn't think that was still around back then.
Yeah, it was holding out for a couple more years. Yeah. Oh, discontinued March 2001. Yeah, so the
Oh,
Dreamcast had like another year left at most. I
that's
guess
pretty
less,
short.
actually. Yeah, it was a big bomb. I have not played Code Veronica. I mean to, but it's one of the only games in the series that does not have a PC release. And I don't want to waste money buying it on my PlayStation
It's
because
on Xbox.
then it's. Is it?
Yeah.
What the fuck? I think on PlayStation you have to like use the PS3 backwards compatible rental thing. I could be totally wrong. I try not to buy games on my PlayStation, especially not on the store. And there's obviously no physical PS5 version of Code Veronica. So,
Maybe
uh,
soon, though.
yeah, maybe. I mean, I'd be fine playing a remake, but I would like to try the original too. I think it's interesting that they kept the fixed cameras. I mean, they're not totally fixed like they were in like the first game, but they're more like the ones in Silent Hill 2, where they kind of like pivot in one spot and like track you from wherever the camera is set up. We should have said this from the top, but we should probably go through our Resident Evil credentials. I guess, better late than never. Why don't you get started?
Okay, well, I've done 2 remake, 3 remake, 4 remake, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Don't think I played any of the side entries.
And I have played through 1 remake, 2 remake, 3 remake, the original version of 4 with the HD mod. I've played 5. I haven't beaten 5. I've never touched 6. Played through 7, played through 8, played through 9. Haven't touched 0 or Revelations or any of the side entries, although I do own them. They are sitting there and they're taunting me from my library. Between the two of us, we've covered all the mainline games, I suppose. We haven't played Code Veronica or 0 or the Revelations games. And I know those are kind of important, but
It's fine.
we seem to be getting by without them. And I do plan on like playing the rest that I haven't played yet.
If Code Veronica was a mainline entry into the series, why wasn't it numbered?
I think originally RE3, like Nemesis, was supposed to be a spin-off or like an expansion for 2. And I don't know why, but they decided to make that RE3, and then Code Veronica was subtitled as a spin-off. I don't know. We'll have to look into that more later. We'll definitely be talking more about the games with each episode. There'll be a new game to discuss usually, unless it's like a release that came out the same year that something else did that we already covered. And now we get into the plot synopsis and discussion. In the Midwest of America, the citizens of Raccoon City have been transformed into zombies after becoming infected with the T-virus, a biological weapon secretly developed by the pharmaceutical company Umbrella. A military squad consisting of leader Klaus and his men Roger. Okay, I was very confused for a second because I thought we were talking about the first Resident Evil movie. And I'm like, that's not how that movie starts.
I mean, it's basically the same thing.
I I was reading it and I'm like, I don't remember any of this in the opening. A military squad consisting of leader Klaus and his men Roger, Ed, Robert, and Norman are sent into the city by the company. Members of the Umbrella Biohazard Countermeasure Services, a group specialized in containing biohazard outbreaks caused by Umbrella, their objective is to rescue Dr. Cameron, a scientist researching a new virus. I feel like one of these guys gets named throughout the whole thing. I remember Ed. I don't remember anybody else.
I remember Ed.
I remember the blonde-haired, angry, like sergeant guy, and I remember Ed being named. I don't remember anybody else. I remember Dr. Cameron, but yeah. So
I think I maybe remember Norman, but they didn't really use they said their names like once.
yeah,
maybe twice.
These aren't even like really characters. These are like
Yeah.
caricatures, like stereotypes of like a typical military squad. You've got the nerd, you've got the angry guy, you've got the commander.
Yeah, there's not enough time to really get characters, so they're kind of just blank canvases.
Yeah, and for what this is, I don't think that's really a problem.
I will say that despite, I mean, I watched the upscaled one, and I mean, I think we can both agree that visually, like, compared to now, it's not the best. But I thought that, like, despite looking bad, the animation of the characters and the stuff itself was actually pretty good. It wasn't, like, really choppy. It seemed pretty fluid.
I completely agree. I was kind of impressed by, like, I guess not the fidelity, because as you said, like, this is Even with the upscaled version, this is a 25-year-old 3D animation. And we're not talking about like a Toy Story level budget here.
Or an Ants level budget.
Or Ants. But the actual animation is pretty good. Like, the characters move very fluidly, and they do have, like I mentioned earlier, real cinematography. There's like sweeping shots. There's like low angle shots of the guys getting out of the Jeep. There's POV shots. There's like actual creative shot choices here, which do make it interesting to watch, even if it is a little fuzzy.
Did you notice that some of the shots, maybe not in the beginning, but later in the film, especially in the sewer, they seemed very intentionally framed as like the game shots or like the fixed camera?
I didn't really notice it while watching this one. But I bet if I went back, I would keep that in mind. I would totally pick up on it.
It was like specifically in the sewer part was where I noticed it the most.
Oh yeah, there's like that one low angle shot of like where the camera's at like the level of the floor. It's looking down the tunnel as they're walking. Yeah. That shot does stick with me. There's not much else to say here. I've got less than a page of notes for this thing. Which honestly, like, having a half page is kind of insane for this 20-minute video, but I do like... I think this is the first time we see any piece of Resident Evil media, and maybe there's like a novel or comic or something, but like, this is the ruins of Raccoon City. And Resident Evil 3 came out in 99, a year before this, so already they've retconned it from what was originally a nuclear bomb in RE3 to just like a regular bombing. And here we have Umbrella guys going back into the ruins of Raccoon City, which, for anyone who hasn't played RE9 yet, without giving too much away, you do go back to the ruins of Raccoon City.
Was this after the bomb or was it before? They never really gave like a specific time frame, I don't think.
I think it had to be after, because the place looked like a shithole. Like, there's no humans around. Everything is quiet, so there's not like panicking or rioting in the streets. There's obviously zombies and stuff running around. So the way I took it is that this was somewhere on the outskirts of Raccoon City, like away from the blast site.
Maybe, yeah. It's the only thing that would make sense. Because you're right, it's very like decrepit.
And it is very... I don't know, there's like empty cans and shit on the street, implying that like people have been looting or scavenging. I don't know. It felt very like The Walking Dead to me. It's also definitely Raccoon City, because there's a shot in the next paragraph where we see like a barrel and it just says Raccoon City on it, as if like that's the destination. So
Raccoon City is like the Tatooine of the Resident Evil universe.
Yeah, it is.
The squad tracks a signal from Dr. Cameron's ID card and is drawn to a warehouse where Robert is killed during a surprise attack from an unidentified monster. The team blows the creature to pieces, but is unaware of its ability to transfer its mind to other life forms. The squad leaves to chase Dr. Cameron's now-moving signal to a manhole, and the monster follows them in the body of a crow. Norman and Roger accompany Klaus into the sewers. It's just so funny because I do not remember their names. Yeah. Norman and Roger accompany Klaus into the sewers, while Ed stands guard on the street. Underground, the team finds Dr. Cameron's equipment and is attacked by a dog. After shooting the dog, they see the doctor's ID card attached to it. Roger, who is a higher-up within Umbrella, reveals to the others that the true purpose of their mission was not to rescue Dr. Cameron, but to collect her research data regarding the new virus capable of regenerating genes. She was infected with her creation and mutated into the monster that the squad had fought at the warehouse.
Oh, that's a lot.
Yeah, that's like most of it.
Pretty much, yeah. This reminded me a lot of the Las Plagas from Resident Evil 4. Just the way that it's got all the tendrils and it squirms around, and also the way that they describe it regenerating genes. I mean, it kind of gives it away, but it reminds me a lot of the regenerators from RE4 as well. Which I think is interesting, because RE4 doesn't come out until 5 years after this movie. I think it came out in 2005.
Well, also they have the Iron Maiden regenerators that shoot the spikes out.
Yes, I was thinking of that too. That like big mutated liquor looking thing with all the tendrils that are like really spiky in the warehouse. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I really liked that first design of the monster. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah, it looks like if you gave a liquor the proportions of a tyrant.
Oh, yeah.
It was pretty cool. Yeah, I like it a lot. I also think it's really creepy that it like transfers its consciousness. I didn't realize it was a transfer at first. Like I put down in my notes that maybe it was like duplicating its mind. It kind of reminded me of The Thing. I don't know if you've seen that.
No.
Okay. The Las Plagas, I think, clearly are inspired by The Thing. I don't know if any developers have outright said it. But this is very reminiscent of that. I like the way that it was jumping from like animal to catch up.
I was a little confused if it was jumping or if it was like more of a hive mind kind of thing.
Right, that's what I meant. Like I wasn't sure if
Okay.
it was duplicating its mind or if it was just moving from one body to another. Both are pretty scary.
Because earlier, or later, they show like the dog in the warehouse, and to me, it seemed like it was like under control. But then it was in the spiky monster too, so I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I did like the POV shot of the roach.
Yeah,
I
I
had
did
that in my
too.
notes. Said POV or roach. And then I really like the scene where they go into the sewer, and then the guy loses a 1v1 to a bird.
Yeah. They've got perfect aim for the monsters, but they can't shoot a crow to save their lives.
He's not even shooting. He could just hit it with the gun. I did like they had the kind of similar design cues too. Like they show the raven had like an eye on the side of it, which is really creepy.
Yeah.
It kind of reminded me of Birkin in
Yes.
Resident Evil 2.
Yes, yes. So that was also making me think that maybe this is like a variation of the G virus. I mean, this is like non-canon, clearly. I mean, Inafune describes it as like a Gaiden or a side story. I don't think anything referenced here is picked up again in anything else. But it is interesting to see what stuff kind of comes back, because they go back to the ruins of Raccoon City in 9, and then in 4, the Las Plagas is very reminiscent to the way this works, just in its visual design. Not the eyeballs, but the tentacles and stuff.
Mhm.
So I thought that was interesting. That it seems like there's a lot of stuff that they did recycle from this.
It could be recycled. It could just be coincidence as well.
Yeah, it could be. I thought it was funny while doing research on this ride. I found a guy on Reddit who was posting in the Resident Evil subreddit like 3 years ago asking when we were going to get a conclusion to Dr. Cameron's story. And it's like, dude, this was like in malls 23 years ago. There's no conclusion to this. What are you talking about?
And then they announced Resident Evil 10. It's like, and as we all know, everyone's favorite character, Dr. Cameron.
Dr. Cameron is the head of the connections. Yeah. Well, I guess they did like bring back a lot of Outbreak stuff in the past couple of games too. So that was something that was thought to be non-canon, or at the very least not relevant. And Alyssa Ashcroft is like a main character of 9, so
I did have a note. I said, like, after, I mean, we're not done with it yet, but at the end, I could kind of see why they would want her to come back, because I think that it was kind of interesting
yeah.
with
No,
the virus that she had.
Yeah, I agree, and I don't think they've had one yet that. Well, I guess the E virus with Evelyn in 7 is kind of like this, where it like infects the brains of the Baker family, and they're like kind of under her mind control. Right? They're like true selves are locked away, and they're kind of serving Evelyn. Oh, I guess we should have put like a spoiler warning for the series at the top of this, but whatever. RE7 is like over 10 years old now. Or no, it's about to be. With Klaus, Norman, and Roger returning to the surface. See, it also fucks me up because there's a Robert and a Roger. That's how you know this wasn't written by a person who's speaking English first. If speaking English at all, it's like no English speaker is going to pick Roger and Robert for a story that has 5 characters total. While Klaus, Norman, and Roger return to the surface, Ed is killed by the crow. Oh, I forgot to mention, I like when the I guess Klaus, the angry like leader, pushes the nerd into the dog blood.
Oh, yeah. I kind
gets
of thought he
mad
was going to get transformed after that.
Yeah, and well, I guess I'll finish reading that first. Transforms into a creature similar to the one in the warehouse. The new monster kills Norman, but Klaus and Roger barely escape in a Humvee using a machine gun attached to the vehicle to destroy it. As the two men drive out of the city, Klaus asks about the virus. Roger explains how it fuses with genes, enabling Dr. Cameron to regenerate her body and other life forms. thus making her nearly immortal. Roger then impales Klaus with tentacles, pinning him to the seat. At this point, Roger is revealed to have two faces, the second one being Dr. Cameron's. The researcher explains that she was watching them in the body of a dog in the warehouse, and she realized Umbrella was pursuing her research data. Dr. Cameron tells Klaus that he and his team turned out to be the perfect guinea pigs for the virus she had created, and that she will continue her experiments trying to return herself to human form. Using tentacles, she rips Klaus's face apart. Yeah.
That was crazy.
It was really gory. I was kind of surprised.
It might be the most brutal death in the series. At least one of them.
I'm trying to think about like main character deaths. Are there any that are more brutal?
Klaus, the main character.
There is the cop in 7 who gets his head sliced in half with the shovel.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
That one's pretty gnarly. But like mostly it's like clean decapitations or limbs being cut off. There is that one cop in RE2 remake with his intestines. He gets caught under the door, and he's like being ripped in half.
Oh yeah.
But he's not really like a character, you know what I mean?
This one felt slow though, like.
Yeah, it looked painful. It looked really bad. I mean, like it looked good. In a bad way, like
physically.
Yeah. I was surprised. Like one, because this is a pretty cheap film. Like all things considered, the budget is very low, but also that it would be allowed in an attraction which is being marketed to children for $5 a ticket in a mall or a theme park.
They're like, this is fun.
There's not too much to say. It's just 20 minutes long. I guess less than 20 minutes. Pretty basic story, but it does give you a kind of a microcosm of like a Resident Evil type story. Like these military guys going into a place with zombies, and then there's an evil researcher and, you know, giant mutated monsters, a big escape sequence. I guess they do kind of cram a lot of the beats into this for something that's less than 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I liked it. I think if I paid $5 or $7 for this, I would walk away satisfied.
Yeah, especially if it has like the chair moving and shit.
That's true. Yeah, that's a whole other benefit that we're not even like thinking about. Is the people who saw this originally, they had a whole other half of the experience that we don't get to have.
Also, the shot of the two faces was really weird. Like cool, but creepy.
Yeah. I like it a lot. So I too would like to see Dr. Cameron return in RE10 or something. Why not? We don't have a villain who's used the virus to like transfer their consciousness. I mean, I could be, again, if there's anything in 5 or 6 that I don't, feel free to correct me. Likewise,
no, I don't think so.
There's anything in 1, I would correct you, but there isn't. Yeah, like Wesker's got, there's the Wesker clones, which are like a thing that are more so established in Revelations 2. I know that much. Apparently that's, and they're brought up again in 9 as well with Xeno, but yeah, I mean, that's all I got to say about it.
So do we think it worked to make an entire short film from Resident Evil?
Yeah, I think this does work. Like, this is the franchise's first film, as far as I know. And it does show that, like, the action, the horror, the sci-fi elements, all of it can work in a movie. Like, visually, like, without the gameplay stuff. And then, I guess the other question is, did it work to use CG animation? And I would also say yes. Because, like, we both agree, it looks pretty good for how old it is. Like, They clearly spent the money in the right places, and while it is not as crisp as something that would be put out today, it does remain watchable.
And probably for the time, it was pretty similar to the games that they were putting out.
That's a good point, too. Like, they started using the pre-rendered cutscenes in RE2, and it's like, I can't imagine that it would be too different from that at the time. You're right. I mean, this is obviously better, like probably better lighting and reflections and stuff like that for the time, and you don't have to worry about like storage capacity on like the hard drive, the disc or the cartridge. But you're right, like it would have been more contemporary back then, and it would have been way more expensive to do something like this in live action. So it shows like a path in which CG can be used to tell a story that you wouldn't have been able to tell for the same price in live action.
And now, In 2026, this is like a fan film that you would see on TV or on YouTube.
Yeah, somebody could have made this in Blender or something.
I guess we could move on to the aftermath of release then. For critical and audience response, I mean, it wasn't in the theaters, so there's not a Rotten Tomatoes or Metacritic or Cinema Score.
Yeah, we looked. There's nothing there.
It has a 5.6 out of 10 on IMDb.
I didn't think to check there.
With 616 reviews.
It's on Letterboxd. The top reviews are all like 4 or 5 stars. Which, again, I guess when you consider the budget and the platform and the time that this was made in, you know, it is pretty good. Like, I had very low expectations. I thought that this might have been a waste of our time and been more of a joke episode, but it is kind of worth looking at.
It's serviceable enough.
And it's worth looking at for some other reasons we'll talk about in a minute. But
you can't really, like, look at a 20-minute short and be like, yeah, this better be a 10 out of 10 or I'll have wasted my time.
Yeah.
The first 2 featured reviews on IMDb, the first one is 6, what the tagline is, "It was all right." And then the next one is a 9-star, and it says, "One of the best animated horror short films I've ever seen."
Jesus.
And for the box office, it had a budget of $1.4 million, or is that yen?
That is US dollars. I already did the math on that.
So it had a budget of $1.4 million. It had no domestic opening weekend. It had no total domestic gross. It had no international gross. It had no total box office gross.
Not that I could find, no.
And for net profit, it's a short film made for theme parks 26 years ago, so there's not really any information out there regarding whether it was profitable in the traditional sense. I'm imagining that, what, $5, $7 each ride?
So I just did the math on that. And if we're assuming that it's only adult tickets, the $1.4 million US translates to, and I think I did the conversion as well for the years as well as the currency when I put down 1.4 million. But we're looking at about 223 million yen. 181,000 yen. If we divide that amongst 1,200 yen, it would take about 185,984 tickets, all adult tickets for this thing to pay for itself. So I guess the question is, did this thing get used by, nearly 200,000 people? Because that would be like when it starts to become profitable.
I mean, I would assume that, and then also, like, if the Mosaic Garden did have to pay to, like, get it in there, then maybe that would take a chunk out of it too. I'm assuming it would probably make its budget back, because 1.4 million isn't that much.
Yeah, I guess it would depend on, like, the attendance at these theme parks and, how long the ride was kept open. I do think it was profitable, or at the very least broke even, because of what we're about to talk about. So, effects on future projects. This is one of 2 20th century efforts from Capcom to bring Resident Evil out of the living room and into amusement parks, with the other one being 1998's Biohazard Nightmare, which is like a Halloween Horror Night style haunted house featuring a recreation of the Arklay Mansion from the first game.
That'd be cool.
Which there's very little footage of, but there is footage of it. Apparently there was like a Resident Evil fan club that you could sign up for in the late 90s. And you could get VHS tapes sent to your house that would have shit like this. Like, there's like a woman who's in the mansion wearing like the 98, 99 equivalent of a GoPro. And I got to imagine that thing's got to be heavy.
Yeah, I was about to say.
And she's like running away from zombies and stuff. And there's like a shot that it cuts to very quickly with like someone dressed up as Claire fighting zombies outside. It's worth checking out if you're curious. It's on YouTube. Not to get too off topic though, but the point is, since Nightmare and 4D-Executor, which both came out in like the last couple of years of the 20th century, because 21st century started in 2001, don't at me. Capcom has had a lot of Resident Evil themed amusement park attractions over the years, in Japan and abroad. Like, going off of Nightmare, Capcom would have more haunted houses, live stunt shows, escape rooms, and even a restaurant, which I sent Thomas a picture of the restaurant earlier. There's like a life-size tyrant in a test tube.
Oh, that was a restaurant? I thought that was like the developer offices or something.
No, no, you could get a burger there.
That'd be awesome.
That's why I said, like, can you imagine eating lunch next to this guy?
One tyrant burger, please.
One Jill sandwich, please. And more relevant to 4D-Executor, Capcom would expand its use of virtual interactive attractions with a series of digital shooting galleries at Universal Studios Japan known as Biohazard The Real, which there are 3 of.
What a great name.
Yeah, I know. And there's also a live VR experience in Tokyo, which I think might still be open, based on Resident Evil 7, known as Biohazard 7 Walk Through the Fear. Which is like one of those areas where it's like a huge open space decorated to look like RE7 with the goggles off. And you put the goggles on top of that and you're in VR, but you can like feel stuff with your hands in the environment. So you're fighting like the mold guys and stuff in a real open space with like a headset and a gun and a backpack that has like haptic feedback and stuff. It looks really cool. I didn't check to see if it was still open, but it opened after RE7 came out. I think it opened in 2019, so it could still be open. It's in some building in Tokyo.
I was kind of wondering, like, maybe not with 4D Executor because it's so old, but, you know, they have, like, a lot of arcades and just gaming stuff there, so I was wondering if something like this would be something that would be more permanent because it's more ingrained in the culture over there.
Yeah, definitely. And I think part of why they would do this is because 4D Executor must have made money. Like, if 4D Executor didn't make money, they wouldn't invest as much into, like, doing these digital shooting gallery rides or this VR experience, which are kind of like 4D Executor, where it's like you're not actually changing or interacting with 4D Executor, but it's interacting with you, with the seat and stuff, shaking and spraying air in your face and all that, which is no different than, like, VR haptic feedback or enemies killing you if you don't shoot them in the shooting gallery. Plus, like I mentioned earlier, they have the escape rooms too, which I think you might still be able to do. And that's pretty cool because it's like, again, it's interactive, but it's also kind of like a haunted house or like a theatrical thing, but it's also tangible. So it's like both of these things that they did at the very end of the 20th century have kind of turned into this like synthesis of like new things to do at like theme parks. And I know for sure they've had like the Halloween Horror Nights in Universal California. They've had Resident Evil nights, which is pretty crazy.
In Japan too, I think.
Yeah, yeah. In Japan, they've got the full like stunt show with like guys doing flips and shit. It's all on YouTube. It's great. And putting aside the amusement park aspect of 4D Executor, like we've said a few times, this is Capcom's first foray into the world of making fully CG animated films. And it obviously proved to be a successful strategy for them because they would go on to make, I don't know, like a half dozen of these things. And they'd make them by themselves outside of Hollywood, and they would go so far as to make them feature length and available to watch in proper movie theaters in Japan and abroad in some very rare cases. So if this didn't work, I don't imagine they'd go ahead with more CG movies.
Mm-hmm. And that's only for Resident Evil. They might have even done it for other properties as well.
Yeah.
But those other animated films are for future episodes of the series. Before this attraction was even conceived, Resident Evil had already piqued the interest of film studios abroad, and just 2 years after this ride's release, moviegoers and fans alike would finally get to enter the survival horror on the silver screen. Thanks for listening. Hopefully you're excited for this new series as much as we are, and we can't wait to go over the rest of the Resident Evil films with you. If you enjoyed the episode, be sure to leave a like, share it with your friends, and rate us 5 stars if you're listening on a podcast platform. And if you've seen this movie or even been on the ride, be sure to leave your thoughts on it in the comments below. We'd love to hear what the audience has to say about it. We'll see you all next week. Goodbye.
Bye-bye, everybody.